Okay, I think we are ready. We're live. May have just disconnected us. Tell her it's on the agenda. It's public. Can you guys hear us? Erin, can you let us know? Can you guys hear us? Okay. So, yeah, awesome. Thank you for this. On the Zoom will manage anything on the Zoom while we're doing this. Right.
So we're live. We're live. Stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a way of respecting, honoring, and creating awareness about our past, we begin our village board meetings by acknowledging that New Paltz is on the ancestral land of the Munsee, Esopus, and Lenape people.
I'm going to add a couple of items to the consent agenda. We have authorization for the mayor to sign the grant agreement regarding the CDBG project. And then item number 4, authorize advertising for engineering and administrative services. Which project is this? Do you know the number?
I'm pulling everything up right now. I think that this is
Let's just put a detail in there, just describing what it is.
sure.
So we're adding that to the consent agenda. And for the business agenda. Oh, also for the consent agenda, we're authorizing Chief Worthman to list the 1996 attack engine for $45,000 for sale with a company called Signal 5 Fire Apparatus, and then to be added to the business agenda. We're looking for a Milbert Preserve Inc. board liaison from our village board. Item number 5, updating our request for American Rescue Plan funds from Ulster County. And that was it as far as items to add to the agenda. Is that right, Ari? Motion to approve both consent and business agenda as amended. All in favor? Is KT here to?
The resolution, the second resolution of bills and claims is also being added to the agenda. So.
Okay. Friendly amendment to readjust the business agenda, adding another resolution regarding bills and claims. All in favor? Aye. Next up, friendly amendment. KT.
Hey, everybody.
If we can't hear you, hopefully it's just that you're on mute.
Oh, I know what it is. Better?
Still can't hear you.
Is it better now?
What about, is there a speaker from that laptop?
I don't know if it's me or
They can hear us.
Terrence can hear me,
They
but
can
you
hear
can't.
her.
Audio is choppy. Can one of you log into Zoom and just connect to the speaker? Yeah.
I'll see if I can write down the reason.
There we go. Now can KT hear us? Can you try speaking, KT?
Test. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yay.
Sounds pretty good. Yeah.
Right on. So I am here to announce our Social Justice Scholarship awardee, who is Paris White. And I'll talk about her application and future in a couple seconds. I just want to make sure to thank all the applicants, but we can only pick one. I also want to thank, in addition to the village board, Supervisor Betez and Deputy Supervisor Torres, as well as David Shepler, chipped in some more to increase the amount of the scholarship. So thank you to everybody who did that. I also want to recognize Mr. Cook's amazing letter in support of her application. I think he made a real compelling case and supported our choice. So a little bit about Paris. She is going to go to Georgia State University in the fall, and she has a really nice interdisciplinary mix of a choice in her path, in that she's going to major in biology with a double minor in psych and sociology, so that as she proceeds towards a career as an OBGYN in full sort of, because she knows of the disparity in the maternal mortality rate for Black women. She's chosen this path, and so she's going to be an OBGYN, and she also wants that social science framework to guide this. So she has her eye super strong on social justice and has clearly charted an awesome path. We can't wait to see what is next for her, and to follow her super bright future as she proceeds. So thank you, everybody. Also, while I'm here, I will also restate my furious support for the skate park, and my wildly optimistic take on the conversation that we're having about it, that's going to make it even stronger and better. So thank you.
Good stuff. Congratulations, Paris. And thanks for taking the lead organizing this social justice scholarship, KT, and thanks to everyone on our board, and Dan and Neil and David Shepler for contributing. I think it's a really important and sweet gesture. Anyone else want to comment?
I can say good luck to Paris.
Thanks again, and congratulations. Any other announcements from our village board?
I have two. One is that the emergency rental assistance program application is still open. It started June 1st, and it is a fund that is first come, first serve. So, don't delay if you need help. If you're a renter, or if you're a landlord and your tenants have been struggling or owe you back rent or anything, you can actually go ahead and start the application process. So either party can do it. And the link is just nysrenthealth.otda.ny.gov. I'll share that with Ariana and keep sharing it widely. But it's pretty straightforward. But if you need help navigating it, you can always reach out to myself and the Landlord Tenant Relations Council, and we can hook you up with some cool videos and other resources on how to collect the right kind of materials for your application. But I think they did a pretty good job this time around on the website, making it super clear. So go ahead and apply. And then I did want to just note that Senator Schumer did write back to us about our resolution in support, for the people, for the People's Act. And that was really cool. I don't remember many times that we've gotten responses from our higher up electeds, to resolutions, and Senator Schumer is on board with us. So thank you for your support. Yeah.
Great. Any other announcements from the village board?
Just a quick one that at the firehouse, our new firehouse construction site, there's new signage to advising motorists to slow down in that area because traffic is picking up through the summer. There's the trail runs right through there, and construction is picking up. So it's the town police and court structure, which is just so that one is back.
Okay, so next up on this agenda, we're going to swear in Shauna Weisberg as our newest village board trustee. Here, why don't you come into the screen? So we have Reverend Jen Barry here doing the swearing in.
Ready?
Yeah.
Set? Yeah. Okay. Please repeat after me. I, Donna L. Weisberg,
I, Donnelly Weisberg,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of New Paltz Village Trustee
the duties of the office of New Paltz Village Trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You are a village trustee.
Thank you so much, my friend. I asked at the last minute if Jen would be kind enough to swear me in, and she graciously accepted, and it means a lot.
It was my
Thank you
honor.
very much.
My honor. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen, and congratulations, Shauna.
Thank you.
Okay, I motion that we open the public hearing on the CDBG 2021 Consolidated Funding Application. Where's our friend Mark Blauer?
Thank you, Tim. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. And does someone want to second my motion to open the public hearing? All in favor? Aye. Take it away, Mark.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Tonight we're having our one required public hearing that is a prerequisite for the village applying again for the New York State Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program. This is the program where U.S. Department of HUD funds are provided to the states, and New York State distributes that money through an annual competition. Until 2019, that competition was in July with announcements in December. A project that we submitted in 2019 was not approved. We had to wait until March of 2021 to resubmit that application. And that application was approved the last week of May as project 793 PR 115-20 for $875,000. The project is a continuation of our long-term effort to address the consent order that relates to the problem of infiltration and inflow in our sanitary sewer system. The consent order dates from 2003, was filed by DEC at the request of Riverkeepers. It's our job as a village to continue addressing that the consent order with improvements to our sanitary sewer system. The project approved in May is a continuation of that process of replacing older sewer mains and/or relining sewer mains or replacing manholes, again, with trying to reduce infiltration and inflow into the system that at times has overwhelmed our system and which could at times lead to manholes spewing untreated sewage on the streets of the village. We've made great strides in addressing this, but there is no end game in sight right now with the DEC to raise the consent order until they're sufficiently satisfied that we've made enough progress. So the grant agreement that you're considering to approve tonight is the one that gives the village $808,875, and we'll continue that effort. The motion to authorize advertising for an engineer and administrative agent is part of that process. So with that project in hand, and we were one of 17 awards statewide, 63 applied, 17 won. It was a competitive program. This particular year became extremely competitive. We have another opportunity. The 2020 round is what was announced in May. The 2021 round resumes the old schedule where the state accepts applications in July, announces in December. We have a due date of July 30th. Any number of types of projects are eligible: water, sewer, storm drainage, road projects, sidewalk projects, senior centers, you name it. But our strong suit, again, has been our consent order, because those projects with consent orders and notices of violation, we have both, have been typically very strong in this competition. And I'm suggesting continuing that type of effort in lieu of other types of projects, because it's a proven winner. And because the situation now continues to be open-ended with DEC, where there is no magic series of improvements that will lift the consent order. Only when they're satisfied that a severe thunderstorm does not cause infiltration and inflow will they relent on the consent order. So the project that was developed by Richard Ruth and Bernard Laris and Blue, our public works director, is a continuation of sewer main replacement and sewer main relining. The streets that were identified to me on a map, which I have, is Henry Du Bois Drive, Orchard Lane, Huguenot Street, Colonial Drive, and if I'm reading correctly from the map, Tricor Avenue. So those increments of old sewer mains to be replaced or relined would cost $948,000 and would in fact make another increment of improvements for our system to continue the long-term effort of dealing with I&I, infiltration, inflow, the problems of old sewer mains that date back to the 1890-1900 period. So my suggestion for the village board is to continue with the same type of project that's been winning. I again expect the program to be intensely competitive this year with not more than 30% of applicants winning. And based upon my experience, this is the winning play. And for the record, we were the only award in Ulster County. There were no awards in Sullivan County, no awards in Delaware County. That gives you an idea of just how competitive this round was. So I'd like to open up the hearing to public questions and comments. In particular, I myself as grant writer would be glad to address any questions of the board or the public about my suggested approach for this particular project.
Anyone from the public or our village board have questions or comments? Well, I do. So, Mark, thanks for continuing to work with us on this project that has been a focus of our village board for several years now. You've helped us secure several $1 million that we have used to update and replace sewer mains so that we could protect our sewer mains from being infiltrated with stormwater, which then impacts what goes on down at our wastewater treatment plant. So on our consent agenda, we have we're authorizing the advertising for engineering and administrative services for the $808,000 award we were just granted recently. And then the reason we're having this public hearing now is because we're going to apply again with a due date this July to try to receive more funding from CDBG to update additional sewer lines in our community. I think this is far and away, and this is from years of conversations with our plant operator and our staff at the Public Works, as well as our engineers. This is far and away the best thing we can be doing to protect and expand capacity at our sewer plant. And I also wanted to share, and maybe I can add this as an agenda item in the business portion of our meeting. Maybe we can just add this at the very end of the agenda, but I would like for our board to discuss doing a project similar to what we did where we worked with SUNY New Paltz to install master meters for drinking water. We should install master meters at the point of entry between the college property and the village property so that we can quantify how much sewer ends up in our sanitary system. This would be a great way to continue to have the good relationship that we have with SUNY New Paltz. I mean, I can provide a strong example in that with the master meters for water, the college is proactively chasing down water leaks on their property. Just in the last couple of weeks, they hired leak detection firms, and then they hired, they went in and replaced some water mains that were leaking. And then we saw a significant decrease in the amount of water after those repairs were made. So metering is really the key to conservation, and it's the key to protecting these limited resources. So let's put that on at the end of the agenda. So I'm just, describing this in the context of this conversation about sewer capacity broadly. But anyone else have questions or comments before we motion to close this public hearing with Mark?
Just a whole lot of thanks to Mark for his hard work and diligence and sticking with us, as you mentioned earlier. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
I motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So the next couple of public hearings that we have listed here have been open for a little bit. We can provide an update on the accessory dwelling unit law down in the business agenda, but have we received any comments from the community about the zoning map amendment or the proposal to update the commercial zones? No. I can share that town supervisor and myself had a good meeting with some volunteers from UACT discussing affordable housing, and we're trying to make it really clear that one of the ways that our community will be more successful in terms of expanding affordable housing is if we update our water and sewer infrastructure. And you'll see that connects to another business item in terms of how we're going to ask the county for some funding to support those things. But and then this is kind of like our MO at this point, in that we call for a public hearing because we want to have a lengthy conversation and try to get folks engaged. And I can report back that the county planning board will be reviewing these 3 draft laws at their July meeting, and we anticipate getting some feedback from them, and then we can update these laws from them. But maybe we can also continue to encourage folks from our community to take a closer look. And I shared these draft laws with the members of UACT, and they offered to take a closer look to see how we can look at these through the lens of expanding affordable housing in our community.
Do you want to close the public hearing on the B2B1 thing, because the new version of it is different? You're going to have to set a new public hearing on that?
Yeah, that's fine. So Ariana and I spoke with our attorney today, and this is more of a procedural, doing things correctly adjustment, in that we're going to open up a different public hearing. And we anticipate doing this as, anytime we make material changes to some of these draft laws. But I motion that we go ahead and close the public hearing that we had already established for the B1 and B2 zones. All in favor? Should we wait until we speak with Stephanie during this meeting to reopen the public hearing, or?
No, later on the agenda
Okay.
is the new law, and that's when you will just set a new public
We'll set it
hearing.
then. Okay. So then we're closing that one, and then we're going to continue to keep the ADU law open, as well as the zoning map amendment open. Okay. Now we're up to the public comment portion of our meeting. Who is here to make comments publicly? We have Kristen Misick. Kristen, do you want to go ahead and make your comment?
Hey, sorry, I was mid-cooking dinner. Thank you for just taking a moment to let me say something about the proposed skate park. I assume all of you got my written comment, and maybe you got a chance to read it. I don't think I need to read it directly, but I'm excited for the kids to have a skate park. I was a skateboarder when I was a kid. I think it's great. We had to drive like 45 minutes to get to a skate park. Excuse me for 1 second. I'll be right back.
Any idea how we can make this audio better?
Sorry, timer went off. So I'm not against this project, and I just have I'm a little confused about some of the comments that have been made and the responses on the part of the village board with regard to the location being Hasbrook Park. Some of those comments being like, well, it's just a patch of dirt right now. And I think like one of my major concerns is I've lived on Elting for 12 years, and honestly, like the chain link fence around the basketball court has needed to be replaced for at least 12 years. The playground ultimately fell into disrepair, I think because nobody really managed to take care of it. It was definitely a hazard by the end of its life. My own child was impinged in there, and it was not a good scene. So thankfully we have a new one. That's great. I just don't see that, you could have thrown down $100 worth of grass seed after that playground got taken out and nothing was done. And it's fine, like whatever, it has become the weeds that it is. But to say it's just a patch of dirt is just kind of evidence of the general lack of maintenance that has gone into the park. And so I see this big project and it looks impressive in terms of the renderings, but the scale seems kind of unmanageable for the village as it is. If you can't maintain a playground that's wood, looking into what goes into a concrete skate park, it's kind of intensive in terms of resources and time and management over time. So I'm not thinking about, when it gets put in and however many years, but 20 years down the road, you're stuck with a concrete eyesore. And I just think like, is the scale really make sense? Like, do we really need the largest skate park in Ulster County? I don't arguably think we do based on our inability to maintain what we currently have. I also think the amount of money that's going to be sunk into it, it would really benefit more park goers if we also had actual bathrooms. We have a disgusting porta potty. And honestly, how many kids have I seen over the last 12 years just peeing in the grass? And then I think like, what's that going to look like when it's a bunch of skateboarders? Like, are they going to go over to the porta potty? Maybe, but my experience is they don't, especially boys don't. So I'm confused about why we're so dead set on Hasbrook when there isn't proper facilities already for people who go to the park. And I do think that, you guys have made a commitment to social justice. You just hand out your social justice award. And the idea of putting it in front of, say, the community center, which, anybody who lives on that side of town, in the summer, you can't use Moriello Pool Park unless you are attending Moriello Pool. So there's not even a playground on that side of town. The other argument of like, well, it's too dangerous for kids to get from the middle school up North Chestnut. Well, what about all the kids who live on up in that area of North Chestnut, behind my market, up Henry W. Du Bois? They'd have to get to Hasbrook Park. So these arguments to me are kind of bizarre and don't really make a lot of sense to me. And then, there's more apartment dwellings over there, which potentially means lower socioeconomic opportunities and abilities to pay for things and get transportation. So I'm really just kind of baffled by the scale of this project, the cost of this project, the ability to maintain this project, and really wondering why no other location within the village is being considered. I understand the argument for walkability. I'm all for that. I think it's great. And I also think we generally lack a master plan for the entire village, and things get thrown up that visually make no sense. You're like, well, why did they put that design architecture there? It doesn't make any sense. It's incongruous with what we have going on. And I just think that there are, you know, other potential projects that could be done in Hasbrook Park that would beautify and enhance the landscape. Whereas I'm not sure that a skate park with a couple of planters plunked in between it really does that. I think, you know, to think like a small band shell, like Brooklyn Band Shell, there's performances going on. I see them almost every weekend. That would be something cool. Botanical garden, like a miniature one would be really cool. So there's a lot of things that could be done with that space. And I just don't see why we need to sink so much money and so many resources into something for that really serves a relatively small population of our community. So that's it.
Thanks, Kristen. I can respond to a few of your questions. So grass seed was absolutely placed down where the former playground used to be. Additionally, I would wholeheartedly disagree that the playground was not maintained by our Department of Public Works. The playground was replaced because it was 25 years old, and the amount of time and money that was spent and care that was taken in terms of maintaining that playground, I was incredibly proud numerous times when our Department of Public Works staff would come up with solutions to repair and replace and you know, just take incredibly good care of that park. I also believe that Hasbrook Park is very well taken care of. I think it's you know, it's handled with a great deal of attention by our staff. And the reason why we would cite an outdoor recreation asset in an area like Hasbrook Park, where there are other outdoor recreation assets, is to consolidate and actually make ongoing maintenance easier, as opposed to placing it in a totally different part of town. And you know, our staff thinks that makes a great deal of sense. You know, we're so lucky in the village of New Paltz, considering the individuals that we have and the culture that's been created within our Department of Public Works. You know, Blue Twilliger and Nick Coddington, you know, his second in command, just do an amazing job, and Joe Craneri, you know, these guys treat Hasbrook Park in particular, you know, probably better than they treat their own yard. And I'm super proud of the work that they've done. And the reason that we do not have public bathrooms in Hasbrook Park is because it would cost an enormous amount of money. We consciously and you know, choose to spend money on porta potties because they are pennies on the dollar versus maintaining public restrooms. We are not a city, we are a village, and we receive most of our revenue from property taxes, and we work really hard to protect the you know, the property tax bills for village residents. We haven't raised property taxes in 6 years. Additionally, the playground at Moriello Pool is actually open, I believe, to the public when the pool is not open. So, you know, that's updated information. Perhaps you were just not aware of that, but you know, I thank the town supervisor and the town building department for making sure that happened. And no question, the chain link fence around the ball courts is long in the tooth. And, you know, you can go back and look at the numerous grant applications that we have submitted to New York State Parks to replace and update the ball courts and the fence. And, you know, we're working with our Public Works Department to figure out, you know, what to do with it, as it's, you know, it's clearly long in the tooth right now. And the skate park, in comparison, has been a project that volunteers have stepped up and said that they want to actively fundraise for. So this is very different from using recreation fees. This is very different from using the village's general fund. You know, they're the ones who are stepping up and supportive of this project. And, you know, I strongly believe that citing a skate park, skate garden, I don't really care how we refer to it, in a place like Hasbrook Park to make it accessible to as many people as possible is the wisest choice, as opposed to hiding it in some other you know, hidden location.
Well, you can't say that the hidden location over by the community center, how many people live over there? Like, if you're trying to make it accessible, I think probably I'd take a gander just living here long enough. More people live on that side of Main Street than this side of Main Street. So I guess I'm a little confused by that argument. It's not about hiding it. It's about the fact that it doesn't radically change the aesthetic of the community center to have it there. It provides parking. It's walkable.
This is a village project, and as I mentioned, the village DPW would be providing the maintenance, just like we do with the Hasbrook, like the Hasbrook Park, features. The village DPW does not maintain the community center property. I would I would also disagree that, creating a new recreation asset that's not near ballparks, that's not near ball courts, that's not near a playground. The reason that you cite these things together is to encourage more people to use them.
Well, it's near the pool, so it's near a major recreational facility of our current village. So it's not near nothing. It's very close to something else. I guess it just seems like everyone's mind is fixed that it has to be in Hasbrook Park. And I'm just wondering, have you guys talked to the town? Did you ask them, hey, do you want to go in on this together, divide and conquer in terms of resources and maintenance? And also 25 years that playground lasted, that's about the life of a skate park, a concrete skate park, without adequate maintenance. So you raise the funds to get that built. What does it look like 25 years from now? Are you stuck in a cycle of having to raise another $500,000 to repair, maintain, and improve it? These are the big picture questions that I just are kind of baffling to me, considering the intense amount.
I'm sorry if you're baffled by these things, but we have had these conversations publicly and addressed alternate locations as a board and addressed maintenance as a board. This is not some sort of whimsical decision where we just think this makes sense and we didn't consider many of the things that you're bringing up. We absolutely have, and I feel very strongly that it makes the most sense to cite this skate feature in Hasbrook Park. And I'll let the rest of the board chime in if they want to add anything right now.
I'll add that, think about families that have more than one child that are different ages. If a parent needs to be supervising, let's say, a younger child who could be hanging out in the playground while the other kid's in the skate park, having those two things in the same place really is another reason to consider that that's the best place for it to be. Because again, a parent can be there and both their kids could be enjoying different things at the same time, whereas if they were in separate places on different sides of the village, that would be impossible. So it's just one more consideration that I think lends itself to choosing this particular spot. But again, as Kim has said, all of these things that you're bringing up, it's not that they're not valid concerns, but they have been addressed throughout this conversation, which has been long. So, we're grateful to hear your feedback, but I'm hoping maybe that some of the things that baffle you, you can go back and have a look and see how and why these things were addressed and why we came to this choice as the number one.
Well, it's great. I mean, that you guys have had extensive conversations. It would be wonderful to see your budget and how the annual cost of this resource is going to cost and impact everybody. Obviously, you've had extensive conversations, so I'm sure you have a full financial breakdown of what that looks like over 10 or 20 or 25 years. I honestly don't know what that looks like, but it would be great to see. And if you guys have that, I would love to see that. I'm sure other people in the community would also love to see that. And, that's helpful. It's still to the point of people want to be in the same place at the same time. The same argument could be made for Moriella Pool Park. It's right there. And you come right off the Empire Trail. That's going to be right on that side of town. The accessibility of a bike around Elting Avenue or around Hasbrook Park, I can tell you from living here, there's not a designated bike lane. It's sketchy. I don't feel super safe with my kids aside from going straight down my street into the park because of the intense amount of traffic around SUNY. I'm very familiar with the way the college students drive and what that parking situation is like. And I have serious, misgivings that this is, does make the most sense. And I get that everybody on the board is 100% behind it and clearly has decided that this is the only location for it. But I think as you guys get closer and closer to implementing this project, you're going to hear more people have resistance for a variety of reasons. And not least of which is, to have it in another location where there's more parking and it's actually safer to get to than what we're currently looking at around Hasbrook Park. That's just, it just doesn't, the biking thing, if it's for bikers and wheelchair people and, scooters and skateboards, I can tell you have a much more protective direct path to the community center right now than you do to Hasbrook Park.
So would you propose that we, when we replace the ball carts, should we change the site to the community center and eliminate them from Hasbrook Park?
I'm sorry, I don't understand. When you remove the baseball parks then do what?
The ball court, using all the same examples that you just provided, I'm wondering if you would support citing the ball courts at the community center or the Moriello Pool Park instead of in Hasbrook Park.
I mean, have not thought anything about it. I suppose I have to think about it. I don't, one way or the other, I guess I'm not super invested, but it's something to think about.
Next public comment?
Connecting with some.
Yeah, go ahead, try it.
Well, if you want to turn mine off, yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'm seeing if maybe we'll hear it
Yeah.
better.
I turned mine off. Oh, do I have the sound on? Hold on.
All right, let's see if that works better.
So we have a public comment.
I have one more comment, if I may.
Okay, I'll call on you in a moment, Misha. And so is Georgia Weinman here, or we just have a public comment that was mailed in?
Does not look like she is.
Okay, so I mean, we could just relay that we got a public comment via email from Georgia Wyman, supportive of the skateboard park project. Misha, do you want to share with us your latest thoughts?
Yes, well, this is just in a reaction to what was just being said now. I think that each time we speak, you kind of sweat at us as flies. You say, okay, we already know what we want. We are not going to care about what you people have to say because you don't know what you are talking about. We are the village board. We are making the decisions for you. This is not a dialogue. You don't get engaged in what our feelings are. And that is really very, very wrong on your part. And there were really no public hearings that any of us are aware of in regard to putting a skateboard arena into the Hasbrook Park. It's and saying that all the recreational activities should be even in one space. It's ridiculous. What about baseball? What about swimming? What about there will be a skating ring, ice skating ring, whatever. You are overkilling what you are trying to sell. And therefore, we already have at least 50 people who signed against the skateboarding park in Hasbrook Park. And many of them say, why there? What's wrong with the community center? How about Moriello? I don't even have to put it into their mouths. This is how they reply. Oh, not Hasbrook Park. This has nothing to do with Hasbrook Park. We don't want it there. And saying that parents want to
read from us what does your petition say? You're asking people to sign a petition. What does it say on the petition?
it's asking to consider other place for the skateboard park.
Can you read the text, please, to us so that we can hear specifically the word?
When we are ready to give it to you, you'll get the entire text with the signatures.
Right, but if you're asking people to sign something, I would think that you'd already have it written down, so it'd be simple for you to read it, no?
Wait, I don't say.
If you're asking people to sign a petition, there must be verbiage on that petition that they're signing their names to, or else they don't know what they're signing. So my point is that
the petition has the text of what they are signing. They are not.
So I'm asking you to read it to us.
Why should she have to read that to you right now? Why are you forcing her to do that?
Because she's arguing based on the petition, so we want to know what the petition says. If she wants to tell us
You're
what
going
it
to
says.
get the petition when she presents it to you.
Who's talking right now?
All right. We the undersigned urge you to reconsider the installation of a skateboard park on the premises of Hasbrook Park. Instead, please aim to preserve our only dedicated green space in New Paltz Village by helping plant more trees and add to the green space for all to benefit from. Further, we suggest that you consider to build a skateboarding facility elsewhere in the village.
Thank you.
Thanks. I would just make one correction. It's not the only green space. The village board and the town board invested over $1 million in the Milbert Preserve. Anyone else from our village board?
What is the other green space?
Millbrook Preserve. Any other public comments on any other topics?
Well, you know what you may consider when the discussions come about the pit. We don't know what's going to happen to the pit. I know that the overwhelming majority of New Paltz residents are very much opposed to a business park built in the pit. Well, but even if that would be beautifully cleared and something would be done with it for the enjoyment of all, put a skateboarding arena in there. Just think about it. You don't have to answer.
The village board has nothing to do with the pit. It's owned by a private individual who has an application before the village planning board.
Exactly, but you will have a say.
No, we don't.
Well, you already had a letter. You, Tim, already had a letter in the Hudson Valley One about the pit. So you're right. Yeah,
I had a letter because I'm encouraging the community to pay attention to that application so that when there are public hearings held by the planning board, I'm encouraging the public to participate. That's all.
Exactly. So you kind of already mentioned it in your capacity as a village board, or rather as a mayor. So.
But that doesn't mean that we have any say over it. It's the purview of another board.
Yeah. Alex, you wanted to share something?
Well, yeah, I think it's inappropriate to respond, in public comment. I just wanted to make sure anyone else who wanted to make a public comment gets a chance to, and then we get to carry on with our agenda. There's definitely plenty of opportunity to address each and every one of these concerns. Misha, you have my cell, hit me up anytime. And thanks again for your thoughts.
Okay, with no other public comment, I'm motioning to move the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Business agenda. Does anyone want to comment on climate equity, social justice related items?
Yeah, there's a lot of intersections with everything here. Just like you mentioned it before, but I think it's important to reiterate that everything we're doing in terms of water and sewer and I is totally an affordable housing issue, which of course in turn is a climate justice issue, and so on the line.
Okay, so the next agenda item is Milbert. Sure. So Steve Preston, you're here to be interviewed for a seat on the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council.
Hi, yes.
So tell us a little bit about your interest in serving on the council.
Well, I saw that it had some seats open, and I haven't gotten involved in local politics, and this seemed like a pretty good opportunity. I'm currently a landlord, but I've been a tenant not long ago. So I kind of understand both sides. And yeah, I was just kind of interested in what it does and helping out to resolve whatever conflicts come up and make sure the rules are followed, I guess.
So I guess the challenge that we have though is you are a landlord for a property that's outside the village.
That's correct.
And I believe the way our code is currently written, the landlord seats are supposed to be occupied by landlords within the village.
Who owns property within the village?
Own
They can
property.
live in the town.
Sure, you can live outside of the village, but the property represent should be in the village. But then again, volunteers are valuable, and it's great to have people who want to serve. Does the board have any thoughts on?
Yeah, I mean, so gosh, volunteers are awesome, and especially fresh faces are so important. And after the Landlord Tenant Relations Council has been around for a while now, having fresh faces on the landlord side of things, is an exciting opportunity. There are, some alternate or associate positions too. And I was kind of thinking, like that might be a good role for say like for having you to be a part of it, and for not, taking up those full membership seats, if you all catch what I'm saying, sorry, because there's plenty of seats open and I don't want to say no to a fresh volunteer. I'm really excited. I loved your letter, and it's always really exciting hearing from folks who are either a landlord or a tenant who have experience on the other side, so to speak. I think that tends to be super valuable. So that was going to be the solution I was going to propose, was filling one of the associate or whatever they are called, or alternate seats. Yeah. Which means you would be a part of it, but we would still have those full membership seats ready for a village landlord who steps forward.
Am I correct in my understanding that we would have to change the code in order for him to become a full member, or is that not? Okay, that's what I was just trying to get clarification there.
Quick question, Steve, have you been able to attend any meetings so far?
I have not attended any meetings so far. I didn't know they were open.
They're open, they're very much open. Perhaps joining the meeting first to see if this is something for you might be a good first step, so that you can hear, you can always speak, when that opportunity arises. So perhaps that might be a first step before actually joining. That's what I would suggest.
What are there alternate spots? Describe what you were.
Yeah.
So there are alternate spots, so like an individual like Steve could fulfill them, and that would be compliant with the code as it's currently written?
So it doesn't have it doesn't say the rules are different for the alternate spots at all, but there is precedent based on, Environmental Policy Board and a couple other of our boards, commissions, and so on to, make such an appointment on a case-by-case basis. And for me, that just makes me feel comfortable, because there's the 7 main seats, there's 3 full landlord seats, 3 full tenant seats, 1 neutral seat. And then there are additional tenant alternate seats and additional landlord, alternate seats. And I just feel more comfortable filling, one of those alternate seats with, an individual who would be like a special appointment, you know, kind of like we've done with in the past. And there definitely is precedent with the Landlord Tenant Relations Council to occasionally make such a special appointment. You know, for a while, there was Amanda, who was kind of an amorphous being who was the keeper of some history, aka minutes for a long time. And, you know, so I know there's precedent. So even though it's not in the code, like there is a pathway, and I just feel more comfortable filling, you know, changing the rules and whatnot, and making special appointments for the alternate seats, if that makes sense.
So, Bill, I appreciate that the suggestion you made, Steve. I also feel like we have Steve paying attention and expressing some interest, and I'm a little nervous if we don't rope him in now, he might join a different club.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of partial to appointing him to the alternate seat.
Yeah.
And then citing some precedent that Alex cited, if you would be comfortable with that, Bill.
Sure, I just hope it's a two-way thing here so that Steve knows what the meetings are like, what they're about. I'm more concerned about him and perhaps signing up for something that he may not be familiar with.
I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing you on the end because you're not close to the mic.
Just that I was concerned about you not being familiar with what happens in these meetings, that, you know, that you might not, and may be a fit for you, maybe a perfect fit for you, something you like, or it may not be. That was my only suggestion. Okay. But I certainly don't want to dissuade anybody volunteering for anything that we have here in the village.
What do you think, Steve? Are like on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to participate?
8.
See, I say we can put in a fallback provision for his salary if he turns out. I motion that we appoint Steve as an alternate member slot to the Landlord Tenant Relations Council.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you so much for seconding.
Okay, so next up is a Milbert Preserve Bridge project. So this is a project we've been working on for several years. We received a grant award from New York State Parks to primarily put in 2 water crossings. One is a more robust bridge closer to North Mannheim, and then the other is kind of a smaller culvert thing that will help cross a drainage swale, which is closer to the Duzine School side of the Milbert Preserve. We've been working on this project for an insane amount of time. Ariana has recently taken the reins to work with our engineering firm as well as with the grantor from State Parks. So we have our friends from Milbert Preserve Inc. and the Walco Valley Land Trust joining us tonight to discuss the project. So Christy or Tal, do you want to jump in?
I just want to say we only got these plans that I just linked in the agenda like when I was on my way over here. So just so if you haven't already looked at them, they are now linked in there.
Hi, so Christy here, Walker Valley Land Trust. I'll just say yes, thank you, Ariana, for sharing those. I think I opened the email when you had sent it 9 minutes ago, and that was just a few minutes ago. I still need some time for the Walker Valley Land Trust to review those. And as per what I said in the email this week, there is the process for written notice and approval. So now that we have these plans, we need to look them over and compare them to what the conservation easement reserved rights and restrictions are. And then also, as everyone will recall, with this conservation easement, we also have to amend the recreation plan. So those 2 things I think can happen at the same time. And that's all I have right now. I have to look at what came in. I was paying attention to the meeting, so I didn't read my email.
When's your next meeting?
For the land trust?
Yeah.
We can have any meeting at any time. Our executive committee can meet in between, so we are not going to be the holdup on any time frame.
Thank you.
Dal, did you want to comment as Milbert Preserve Inc.?
Sure, Tim. So yeah, so as Ari said, we also got the plans. I did have one question. I did think there were going to be 2 bridges. Is that not the case?
Yeah, there are 2 water crossings.
Oh, there are. Okay. So
Yeah,
the
the
plans
one
that
water
you-
crossing is the one closer to North Mannheim.
Mhm.
You know, where you guys had that picnic thanking the geology students for all their volunteer work.
Yep.
And then the other one is that drainage swale closer to the Duzine school side.
Right.
It does appear
And
they
so-
only sent these plans for one. You're correct, Tom.
Okay, so they didn't send us I think they probably only sent us plans for one because the piece that's going in over near Duzine is like incredibly low tech. It's like an off the shelf bottomless culvert item. I think that's probably why it doesn't include anything significant as far as engineering.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so I guess one of the something we wanted to talk about was potentially getting another liaison, someone on the village board. It previously was KT, and so I don't know how the board would like to handle that, but it would be great if we could have someone on the board to work with. I mean, there's, you know, it would just mean that they would be able to attend our board meetings and it would just be a point of contact for us. But I mean, all of that is obviously voluntary. So I'll just put that out there.
When are you meeting?
We meet quarterly. I mean, we've been meeting on Zoom, 4 meetings a year, essentially. So every few months we meet.
I'm happy to volunteer to be the liaison.
Nice. I motion we appoint Stana before she changes her mind as the liaison to the Milbert Preserve Inc. All in favor? Aye. And I really want to, you know, publicly thank Milbert Preserve Inc. I think in the last couple of years, you know, people are really enjoying the trail system that has been created because of the work of the volunteers, including like the geology students that we just mentioned earlier. But we have some volunteers that are just, you know, providing an enormous amount of time to make these trails really enjoyable. And you know, I think what's interesting about what this team of volunteers has done, it's kind of like a park conservancy, almost like what Central Park has. You know, and like we're having this conversation about Hasbrook Park and like, you know, who's going to take care of the maintenance moving forward? Like, you know, probably what will happen in a community like ours, we would actually need something like a Hasbrook Park Conservancy, where volunteers who love Hasbrook Park are stepping up and they're working with the local government and they're maybe really doing some fundraising or doing some organizing of, you know, maintaining the park itself. You know, that's generally how a lot of these recreation assets get managed. It's not purely on the backs of property taxpayers. You know, if there's no way that the village or town government could afford to pay for all the work that the Milbert Preserve Inc. volunteers have done in the preserve thus far. So, you know, thanks again.
I'm lucky enough to live near the preserve and I use it regularly and I'm grateful every time I walk in there. So it would be my honor to help all I can.
Thank you, Stana, and thank you, Tim. We're proud of, I mean, what now we've all created this public-private partnership, and it's been great. And I think, you know, we can agree that it has been successful. A real community has formed around this space, which has been really incredible. You know, the pandemic especially brought people into the preserve, and these are local people. These are people that live around, and it's amazing to see just how many inquiries we get every week for education and research and just so many neat projects. So we feel very grateful for that. And these are definitely two very important water crossings. So we do recognize the need for bridging in these two places. I think one of our questions that we will pose to the board in terms of just moving forward, potentially working with Stana in terms of involving the public. I know that people are going to be very interested to hear, what these bridges are going to look like, etc. And we know a lot of people just waiting for this information, and it is in that respect our responsibility, I think, to kind of disseminate this information. So to the extent that, the village wants to use our organization to help funnel that information, we're certainly available for that. So hopefully we can work together to figure that out.
And the one thing I'll add is the plans that were sent out, and again, I have not had a chance to look at them. If it was just for the one bridge, as per the conservation easement, sorry to be the squeaky wheel, we'd also want to see the details for the other bridge so that we can make sure we document and go through the process as set up in the conservation easement. So
makes tons of sense. Thanks for, Ariana.
Thank you all. And this is such a great project. I have to say, I have a few local friends who I won't pick on them, and they're not on this and they won't watch this. Don't go outside, and the Milbert Preserve has changed their lives. So thank you all for all your hard work.
Oh, that's so great.
Okay, next up is, so back in April, we took it upon ourselves to be an early asker of the county to see if they would help us with some projects in New Paltz. As you know, the county has received, I think, $34 million in American Rescue Plan funds, and I believe the way the federal government structured this assistance is that they could help local governments, or other recipients could help their sister municipalities. So we asked for some assistance to address the parking lot down at off of Huguenot Street that is the entrance to the Gardens for Nutrition. And then we also asked for some assistance to respond to the fact that the dorms were 43% full during most of COVID, and that greatly impacted revenues within our water fund. And had a really productive meeting with County Executive Pat Ryan and Deputy County Executive John Milgram recently, and we were talking about, and Deputy Mayor Alex Wojcik was there, and Alex and I were impressing upon our colleagues in the county executive's office that so many of us are concerned about addressing affordable housing needs, and we feel strongly that an important piece of this puzzle is making sure that we have the utilities infrastructure ready to allow for any apartment buildings that are being considered. We already have the new apartment building that was constructed for Zero Place. So we had our engineer pencil out a more formal ask that would do two things. We have 4 sewer pump systems in the village of New Paltz. 3 of them are in need of a great deal of assistance, especially if they're expected to accommodate more volume. One of those sewer pump stations is in front of my market on North Chestnut Street. So, because we updated the zoning for the NBR district, and because we have an affordable housing law, we think it makes a great deal of sense to formally ask the county for assistance with that sewer pump station upgrade, so that we can actually pursue some of these goals to add more or some affordable housing stock within this community. And then part of that project would also involve creating a looped water system from the northern end of Huguenot Street to the northern end of North Chestnut Street, where our water line currently dead ends at both of those locations. And loops are infinitely better for municipal drinking water systems because it helps with a more even flow of water. We're less likely to have pressure spikes. We're less likely to have instances where tuberculated pipes get stirred up and we end up with brown water. And then we can also include some additional valves. This has been a really brutal time for us recently because we've been chasing down money to update the water main from Main Street to BOCES. We were fortunate enough to receive an award from the Environmental Facilities Corp. Everything got pushed back, so we're probably not going to begin that construction until next year. But in the interim, we keep getting whacked with water main breaks that we're patching with temporary clamps, because that's all we can do right now. But this is part, creating a loop and then dovetailing that loop addition with the update to the North Chestnut water main would greatly appreciate or improve water quality in that corridor and allow us to more dependably provide safe drinking water to the residents who live there, as well as not disrupting our elementary school. A couple of times in the very recent past, we've had water main breaks, and Duzine has no choice but to shut down early. So we think that asking for assistance with these ARP funds via the county, in addition to our ask from April 28th, makes a great deal of sense. So my motion is to formally ask the county for this assistance. Does any second? Okay, any discussion or questions?
Just reiterating what I said earlier, that you said earlier, but I reflected, in order to, really take on affordable housing issues, we really need to take on these infrastructure issues, so thanks for solidifying that ask.
It's the foundation for so many things. The foundation is crumbling throughout the village.
I really, I couldn't stress enough that if, I think we're doing a lot within New Paltz to support our affordable housing law by, considering updates to our commercial zones and the accessory dwelling unit law. And then we more recently adopted a short-term rental law that we're going to re-adopt in a moment. We're doing a lot of the things, but this is another incredibly important piece if we actually want to walk the talk and not just talk the talk. And as far as affordable housing, like, we need the below grade infrastructure improvements. Okay, all in favor? What?
Just a quick question: is there a dollar? Was there not?
The dollar amount for the sewer pump station and the connecting the water main loop, it was some number just over. It's in the email that I shared earlier, but it's just over $1 million for those two projects. But we can get details, like Terrence, you're watching, if you want details on the two projects, we can get you pretty granular information. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item, so this is kind of a housekeeping thing. We adopted a short-term rental law. There was just a hiccup in terms of getting it to the Department of State. So we basically have to re-adopt that law. This is a motion to re-adopt the law. All in favor?
Aye.
Same issue with the storm sewer and stormwater law. We had a public hearing, we adopted it. It didn't make it to the desk of the folks at the Department of State. So motion to approve this law. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item, accessory dwelling unit. So this is a type 1 action per seeker, because it would involve greater than 25 acres within our community. And so we have some items to respond to, to make sure that this is a seeker compliant process. So we had our attorney create create a or complete the full environmental assessment form, as well as lead agency notice of intent. I motion to move both of those items.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Did we want to share? Is Stephanie joining us, or does she need to comment
She
at
was
all?
not going to
Okay.
join us, as far as I know.
Great. Okay. And then this is also similar to a housekeeping item, the reintroduction of the local law that we just closed the public hearing for regarding the B1 and B2 zones. So our attorney counseled us and said that, this is the more proper way to do this. So I motion that we establish a public hearing for our next scheduled meeting for the local law B2 as described in this link.
July 14th.
July 14th would be the first day of the public hearing for this draft law. And then we got to make sure that the county has it as well. I mean, they said, because I've been speaking with the county planning board and they unfortunately weren't able to look at it in June, but they said that they could look at it in July. So we just make sure that they have this correct version.
Stephanie will definitely be sending it to them.
Okay. All in favor? And then the next item, so one of the things that we've done as a village board is we've tried to interface and ask for stuff from the New York State DOT, including crosswalks at Main Street or on Main Street at both Church and Prospect Street. We've asked for those in the past. We've gotten letters back from the DOT saying, for whatever reason, no. I think we should, and I use the word reheat intentionally, to ask again for the DOT to consider crosswalks. And I think what's a little bit different now versus the last time we asked is that we are an Empire State Trail host community. We're trying to make our Main Street even more pedestrian friendly because we're an Empire State Trail facility. This is the Empire State Trail is an amazing project. We're actually going to be the recipient of some of their leftover funds. They're doing some work on the Walker Valley Rail Trail. Christy, who's still on the call, she gave us a heads up today that if you see some visitors on motorized vehicles, they are not rebel rousers. They are actually engineers representing Empire State Trail, checking out the property because there's going to be a bunch of work being done to improve the trail. Hopefully, it'll be completed by the summer. And they had done a bunch of improvements to the Walker Valley Rail Trail north of us. So this section will, in New Paltz, will go between the Sojourner Truth Park and Craigswood off of Springtown Road. So not to get off topic here, but I think we can basically take our resolution that we submitted to the DOT previously and now include an ask for a crosswalk at South Chestnut Street or on South Chestnut Street where it intersects with Hasbrook Avenue. That also is a state highway. It's a very busy pedestrian area. It just seems like that would be the prudent thing to have a crosswalk. We actually received a reminder from a resident, or maybe it was a business owner in that area who feels that would be a great ask. And I personally think that makes a good deal of sense. So motion to move the resolution. Someone want to second it and then ask questions?
Yeah. Okay, I'll second.
Okay.
Just perhaps we can insert this that Main Street is a pedestrian causeway, if you will, for the Empire State Trail, whereas if you're on a bicycle, you're supposed to go to Henry W.
Right.
So I don't know if that's included in that resolution notation suggestion.
Do you want me to take that resolution and make it a new resolution for?
Yeah, take the old resolution, include the words Empire State Trail and the point that Bill just raised, that it is the pedestrian portion that runs through New Paltz and the bike portion is separate. And then just make sure that we're including the crosswalk at South Chestnut. All in favor?
Aye.
And then next item, 8 North Chestnut Street. So you're right, North Front Street at Church Street. So the property owner there, that used to be the oil shop, and now it's a candle shop, and then there's residential properties up above. But the property owner asked our village board for financial assistance with the sidewalk improvement that she would like to make. The way our village code is currently written, sidewalk are the responsibility of property owners. The village retains the right to help when it can. So the challenge with this section, again, New York State DOT thoroughfare. You can't just, do things that are not DOT spec specific. And so we had our engineer pencil out how much it would cost to make that sidewalk corner compliant. $4,000. That's how much it would cost just for the engineering to make it compliant. And then in addition to that, there would be an expense to do the construction of the sidewalks. And when we do sidewalk construction, it costs a whole lot more than it does when private entities do. But so we should consider as a board whether we want to use village general funds to pay for a portion of this $4,000 bill if the property owner agrees to take on the remainder of the engineering bill as well as the construction of the sidewalks.
Yeah, that's exactly what my mind is thinking. I feel like that would feel good. I just want to make sure the rest of the project, gets fulfilled, for sure. Sidewalks are important. They're so pricey though.
It's okay, pricey because we've really set ourselves up for failure with the way we've designed them and handcuffed ourselves to using concrete. But that's a different conversation.
Is that proposed percentage?
We don't have any motion yet. Bill's asking how much of the $4,000 bill. I don't know, maybe we should talk to the property owner and get a sense of how serious they are about spending money. They may have already received a bid from a construction firm. So want to do that?
It doesn't require a motion. It's like more just.
Yeah, just give them a call.
Steps.
Give them a call. Next item, discussion about public meetings and the use of public indoor spaces, conference rooms by the community.
Yes.
Yeah, well, today the emergency was declared over as of tomorrow in New York State. So, I feel like I'm in a state of emergency perpetually, but that's besides the point. So it's time to open everything, I guess.
I think considering that, when we go out into public spaces these days, people have started going back to normal. I personally, when I'm indoors, most of the time, if I don't know who I'm with, I put a mask on. I don't know whether, what kind of, things we can put in place so that everybody feels safe, as far as, requesting people wear masks if they're not vaccinated, for instance. But of course, we're not going to ask people to show proof of their vaccination. I think that's, or maybe it's wrong, I don't know. But I want to discuss what the specifics are going to look like, or if we're just opening it up and that's it.
I think logistically, it would just be difficult for us to do that.
That's what I thought.
Like if someone's having a meeting here and nobody's managing it,
Right.
yeah.
We do know that 70% of adults in the county are vaccinated, so we've hit the threshold of herd immunity.
That's one dose, right?
Yeah, I think
That's at least one, right? Not double.
Right, at least one. So I guess maybe not fully at herd immunity, but I'm encouraged by that.
I think we're seeing more and more businesses and organizations opening up their meetings, asking people to be on the honor system if you're not vaccinated to wear your mask. I think we're going to ask the same of the public. I think I'm all for opening up our meetings. It would be great to see people sitting in our chairs and offering feedback and getting reaction from the public. I think that would be a wonderful thing. I also think we should do the same downstairs in our clerk's office, asking the same thing of people visiting to pay their water bill or what not, to mask up if you're not vaccinated. I think that's the best we can do, and that's what people are doing. I go to a gym locally, and most people are not wearing their masks, and there are people who are being very honest about it. So I'm not getting vaccinated, so they're wearing their masks. So I'm all for let's reopen, and let's not make it too onerous on people to attend the meetings.
Yeah, I do think we need to just be conscious to continue to provide a hybrid way for folks to participate. You know, because there's you know so many different scenarios that people face, and you know, I think that's just the only thing that would be different. You know, in this next phase of life is just having a hybrid opportunity, having it possible for folks to make comments from home and continue to do things from home. You know, if that's what they need to do, or if they're not feeling well that day and whatnot. But yeah, I think like we don't really have that many choices now because, you know, Cuomo kind of declared like, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree that having access for people to meetings from home is great in that it increases participation in the process, which we certainly want to encourage.
Well, that way we don't have to, you know, worry. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it actually increases accessibility to the meetings to have it be a hybrid situation. And I mean, there have been minor hiccups in this, but like overall it works really well. And it's on YouTube the way it used to be when that was our camera. Like it all actually is, you know, from the tech side of it, it feels like just as easy and accessible, if not easier.
But do we have to wait for the legislature to allow for us to, well, I guess we can do it for the public, but if a board member wants to participate remotely, we have to wait for the state legislature to greenlight that.
Yes.
It's not a Cuomo thing. It's a law change that would be required.
Correct. Yeah. To clarify what I said, the Cuomo thing is, you know, the emergency's over, so we have to return to quote unquote normal. But I think our normal will be more accessible and inclusive and allow the public to participate in any way that works with them and their individual circumstances.
So you guys, I think, are in agreement that doing these meetings by providing this remote access for the public, that we can just do that.
Totally.
That's my
that's cool. Okay.
Yeah. The one thing I've been thinking about this. So the one thing that I feel like we need to come up with is maybe like a second version of exactly what we have set up here, so that if there are two meetings happening at once, it also might mean needing to like upgrade our Zoom account so that like if they're, I mean, for the most part during COVID, certainly there haven't been two meetings at once, but if there were to be two meetings at Village Hall at the same time like there used to be, and both are meant to be broadcast, we could also just, if it's open to the public, not all meetings were recorded in the past anyway. So like this is the stuff that I feel like you guys need to just like figure out what you want to do. It's like meetings that used to not be recorded are now recorded. So to go back to not recording them feels like taking something away, even if they are in a place that the public can physically walk into if they so choose. But you know, that's your choice.
You know, COVID, you know, there are still, you know, health concerns that exist right now. So I think, you know, I think it's important to continue to, you know, provide that public space in the same way we have. But it sounds like there's some logistics that need to be worked out. And I do this at work. I've been doing a lot of hybrid things. So if you want to like try to like brainstorm or anything, let me know.
I mean, I think the reality is that we would just need like to purchase another setup like this. Where we'd have to have, like right now I'm using my personal laptop. So we'd have to have like every, you know, multiple laptops, 2 projectors, 2 projection screens in order to like have this set up in the other room. So that's kind of like, we'd have to price that out and vote on it is all it really is.
Do we have bandwidth to handle that?
Yeah, our internet is good. Yeah.
And I feel like throughout COVID and then even tonight, you've done such a good job like figuring out this tech. You know, I talk with the other municipalities in the county, and I think you know, these things are not easy to figure out, and we're generally ahead of the curve with a lot of this stuff. So thanks for not being afraid to figure it out.
My pleasure. I'm glad it's worked so far.
Yeah, and it'll only get better.
Yeah.
So do we need to take an action, or is this just?
I mean,
We never actually took an action to close anything. All we were doing was
follow
just.
the rules. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we could just be like, we're following the rules.
We could just take down signs.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And make an announcement. Maybe we write something like briefly noted section in the paper. I could do that.
If you want me to, that'd be great.
You know, if we feel like
Just
we're
saying
ready
that
for
we're open for in-person business. Okay.
We'll do that starting tomorrow or starting Monday?
Well, if restrictions are lifted tomorrow, I guess it's gonna make sense.
Midnight tonight.
Yeah, yeah, so then it's as of midnight tonight.
Right, but the key thing is we're not actually doing anything.
Right, but we are.
Because we never took action to begin with. We never declared a state of emergency because we did not have the you know, that power. Okay, so the next item is consideration for our village to become a member of the National League of Cities. So we're currently a member of the New York Conference of Mayors, and we find it to be very useful. Bill and I both attended their annual meeting. I know Alex pays close attention to all their different you know, bills that they're in support of or critical of. I learn a lot from them regularly. They have a very strong team of attorneys. But the reason that we might consider National League of Cities is their executive director presented at the NICOM meeting recently. And I spoke with him afterwards about a few items, and he thought it would make a great deal of sense for us to connect with some of the other college host communities across the country, because I think a lot of our challenges relate to the fact that we want to be a good host to SUNY New Paltz, and we want to be a good local government for the people who live here 24/7. You know, Bill and I have been brainstorming for some time about, like, you know, should there be some sort of different type of agreement, almost like an agreement that we have with the town outside of the village in terms of fire protection with SUNY. You know, we've each year chased down SUNY impact aid. Some years we get it, some years we don't. You know, that makes budgeting and paying for necessary items like fire trucks and you know, the bonds that fund those purchases really difficult when we can't depend on that stream of income. But you know, what we can depend on is being an incredibly busy fire department where we, you know, average 2 calls a day. So, you know, that's kind of the, you know, that's one example as to why it might be worth being a participant within the National League of Cities more formally. But I bet you there are probably some other benefits as well, because it's just really interesting. I think whenever you compare notes with other local governments or other elected officials, you know, we regularly go through a lot of the same things, and comparing and contrasting and sharing ideas is really valuable. Do you guys have any thoughts or questions about?
Just that NLC seems to have their finger on the pulse of so many things, and when they attack something or look at something, they really do a thorough job of it. And if you look at some of their articles that they've published, they seem like ahead of the curve and very progressively minded. So and Clarence Anthony, who's the CEO of the organization, is a brilliant person, and he has a brilliant staff. And I think we do well to join the organization.
I'm so into this. Because one thing, the past like year and change has really demonstrated is like, how much we have to like really look to communities outside of our county and our state, to find like our like actual like kindred spirits in terms of the community, and anything that will give us more access to those other, leaders dealing with the problems we're dealing with, because no one else in Ulster County is dealing with any of our problems, right? Like at all, like, but there are all over the country. So yes, let's please connect.
Yeah, and I would highlight, I feel like Alex and KT, God rest her soul. You guys used to always say that you would look to other communities' legislation to, that would be your template if you were considering something for us. And I feel like, that is, I mean, that's exactly how I wrote the accessory dwelling unit laws. I looked at another communities, I copied it, and then I just started massaging it. And then I read an article and massaged it further. And then I read the state law and massaged it further. I mean, like, you need other examples to use as your jumping off point. And then I would also share that NICOM and National League of Cities did a whole lot of working together on the American Rescue Plan package. And I think because of both of those groups, that's the only reason that we're getting any money at all for local governments. They were the ones who really lobbied on our behalf. And if we weren't receiving those funds, we'd probably be in a very different situation and probably have to just straight away raise water rates, for instance. So
one other thing too, if we can develop the relationships that we have with NICOM, for example, with some of those people at NLC. I mean, NICOM is, you write them an email, they're back to you within a couple of hours with a very technical question, a very simple explanation, and they really save us tons of time and tons of money.
yeah, I think that's an important point to highlight is we kind of use NICOM for legal counsel pretty regularly. I think all of us at this table have done that, where we're like, let's call NICOM first before we call our local attorney, who bills us by the hour. They're always very careful with not whacking us with bills, but this membership, I think, would actually, provide us with a lot of value. So I motion that we move forward with paying for 1 year's membership. All in favor? I motion that we move the first bills and claims on this agenda. All in favor? I motion that we move the bills and claims that we added to tonight's agenda.
Second.
All in favor? Do we want to, Bill, do you want to provide any planning board liaison updates?
Sure. Planning board really worked at the last meeting on June 15th at a 3-hour meeting. The first 2 hours is devoted to reviewing applications to be part of the review process for the New Paltz Apartments proposal. They decided on agencies to examine community character, environmental issues, archaeological issues, and engineering issues, design issues. So that pretty much took up a good portion of the 3-hour meeting. It's decided it was going to be a type 1 action under seeker, and July 20th will be the first public hearing for reviewing the Paltz Apartments. So that's essentially what took place. There are a few other things, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay. ZBA liaison, if you.
I have not attended the meeting yet, because the first one was before I was a member.
Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, we'll hear from you next time. So I mentioned this when we were talking earlier about sewer capacity, and this was a project that we started investigating prior to COVID. Kind of like almost like a phase 2 of the master meter project for drinking water, but to have master meters for sewer so that we can work with SUNY more closely on stormwater infiltration. And I think the way to create some momentum is if we take the reins and look at, the points that connect between the village property or the village boundaries and the SUNY boundaries, like where does sewer enter our village? And then at least, put together a preliminary plan and cost, and, then approach SUNY New Paltz with what we think it might cost, because, probably have to update or expand some existing maintenance holes, and then purchase the hardware to go into those maintenance holes to meter the volumes. But we, like I said, we began exploring it prior to COVID, but like a lot of other things, it got, pushed to a side burner. So we've been speaking more recently with our staff about, taking a look again at that project. But I would like to commit to, getting an eyeballed estimate for how much a preliminary engineering study would cost. Any questions or thoughts?
This sounds awesome and important, but also just, very interesting, like obviously it's clutch, but also we're going to learn so much cool stuff by like moving forward with this idea. Like, thank you for it.
Yeah, and there's not too many tools that we have in our tool shed to protect the existing capacity of the sewer plant, except for fixing I&I problems. And we've been saying that for years and years, and we've been successful in that. We've made significant we've made significant investments in our sewer conveyance system with the help of CDBG funding, and we believe that the numbers reflect those improvements. So this might be another way to get SUNY working more closely with us. So we'll just put that. Ari, maybe you can help me with that discussion with Rich Ruth. We've been discussing it recently, but just to relay to Blue and Rich Ruth that we have support from the board. Anything else tonight? Because I want to go into executive session to discuss personnel for a moment. Nothing else. So I anticipate that we're going to go into exec session, discuss personnel, and we're going to come out and take an action for anyone watching at home. So motion to go into executive. Bill seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
8:53. Alex, it's done.
Great, thank you.
I motion that we appoint Nancy Bronco as our clerk provisionally effective July 1st, subject to all legal requirements being met.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Do we need to disconnect anything?
Yeah, everything.
My question was rhetorical.